Hey, yo, welcome to the Uncle Show, and I'm a little late to this. I don't care. I'm just excited this thing finally arrived, and I'd be stupid not to review it. This year is the Haslab Transformers Legacy Liokaiser, the fifth Transformers project from Haslab and one of my most anticipated toy releases this year, and one of the most controversial. Brace yourself, pull up a snack, because there is a lot of backstory for this one. So to start off with Liokaiser, he is a Decepticon combiner from the third Japanese G1 show, Transformers Victory, which I've actually seen some episodes of. Haven't watched the full series, but what I saw was pretty good. Victory is also a treasure trove of wonderful designs, and we've covered a few of them before, including in the days before I had an actual set, and it was just a pillowcase pinned to the wall, while I leaned on the floor, ruining my spine. Liokaiser here is formed of a 6-robot team called, and I quote, the Breast Force. No, I'm not making that up. Now, as for Haslab itself, Haslab is Hasbro's crowdfunding division, and just that sentence alone is gonna raise some eyebrows. Essentially, Haslab is their way of funding stuff that's too niche or too big for normal retailers. Some projects have succeeded, others not so much. And it's very controversial, and while some people are a bit more understanding of it, given the large sizes and niche characters, others, given the large prices and uncertainty of any re-releases of these figures compared to normal release, it's a bit frustrating to say the least. And with the recent introduction of made-to-order figures from Marvel Legends, that does beg the question if Haslab is really needed. But then again, I guess the idea of working together to fund a big project does give a bit more of an excitement factor, but then again, look, there's been plenty of discussions about Haslab, so why don't we talk about the Haslab projects for Transformers, which are some of the more interesting projects, whereas the others tend to be toy but big. Haslab Unicron. Don't have it, don't want it, I have not heard good things about it. Victory Saber was a great time. Very fun to play with, very posable, 2 great figures in one. I heard some people had minor QC issues. Mine didn't, thankfully, but overall, big success. Death Source is legit one of the best figures Hasbro has ever made. Lower priced than the others, comes with a ton of great accessories, plays great, though I do wish the Kaiju head had chrome, but that's a small complaint. Otherwise, great stuff. Omega Prime would be a fantastic update of the original set if it weren't for the frickin' spine issue. Such a great recreation with 2 wonderful, much more posable updates of the Omega Prime set suffers from easily fixable breakage issues, because otherwise it was a great time. So yeah, while the Haslabs have been mostly successful outside of technical issues, it still remains a controversial service, and Liokaiser's announcement did not help things. It was already more expensive than the non-Unicron Haslab Transformers, and even worse, it was a combiner, and let me tell you, if you want to see some of the most toxic and annoying takes on Transformer toys, just look at the takes on combiners in Transformers. From Superion's legs to Devastator's ass to Nexus Prime. Okay, I'll give you that one. And Liokaiser, where do I start? There were debates about the kibble, the individual figures, whether or not it could have been a general release, comparisons with the recent third-party figures, and of course, the Combiner Wars truthers who swear by this wretched thing. So after all the headaches, all the controversies, all the talks, well, you know what, in a way, I'm glad mine took a while because the honeymoon period is over. I have a chance to really take this thing in, and well, I'll tell you all about that right after this message from our sponsor.
If you get subscribed and get notified, you'll not only see new reviews, but you can also tune into live streams where I film footage for future videos. Any super chats will also be featured in the video as well. Also, if you like the video, please give a like and comment. Your engagement helps support this channel. Now, back to the video.
Man, opening up a Haslab boxes is a premium experience. Everything in its own little container and all that. On stream, it felt like I was opening a birthday present. And out of the box, all the 6 robots are in their vehicle modes. All their robot modes will lead into their limb forms, so it makes sense. So let's dive into all 6 right now. First up is the team's leader, Leozak, and well, he's certainly a planeformer. You could say it's plain as day. In all seriousness, it's not the worst planeformer, but it's kind of your standard plane on top, block of robot underneath. You do get some landing gear at least, which is sadly not common on planeformers these days, and the wings can adjust, but still not the best, especially kind of disappointing given how Age of the Prime slingshot showed that improvements to the old planeformer strategy was possible, but it gets the job done. On a far sillier note, here's Jaruga, who has missile-firing pants on the back. Yes, really. Separate from the pants, the car is actually nice and simple with a nice little doom buggy dragster look, but the pants, oh the pants. I understand the idea behind it. It was on the original toy, and they also wanted to use it for the final robot's pelvis later. And in that sense, it's more creative than the usual trailer. There's even painted recessed missile details inside. But at the same time, come on, man. And sadly, this is only the second action figure I've seen with a rocket launching ass. Next up are the two other planeformers, Skyhawk and Hellbat, or Elbat in this case. Apparently this is a trademark dispute with McFarlane Toys, because they're the devil apparently, and not in the way that Todd McFarlane originally intended. I'm lumping these two together because they're so similar. Once again, planeformers. Billy basic planeformers. I guess El Hellbato has the nicer colors and wing setup like a Blue Angels plane, but still, ER Starscream, these guys are not. And while we're getting shared engineering out of the way, here are Drillhorn and Killbison. And out of all of these vehicles, Drillhorn is definitely my favorite. I'm a sucker for drill tanks in science fiction, and this is a really solid example of one. From the shining drill that thankfully does rotate, the bulk of it, the treads, it's all so gorgeous. I've been wanting a good drill tank transformer, and given a new Computron seems unlikely too soon, and a Make Toys version makes me want to die, this is a good one to have. Killbison, meanwhile, yeah, that's just a brick with a gun on it. Now, I get it, they wanted to keep the robot proportional as well as the final leg, I understand, I really do, but also, come on, man, at least it can roll, and the turret rotates. G1 Toys still did a lot better, but it's not a total loss. So there we go, the 6 vehicles that make up Liokaiser. I'm not forgetting anyone, right? Probably not. And on a whole, they're okay. Not the best vehicles, but they are decent. So now, let's get these guys transformed. Normally I do this where I'd showcase the full transformation, but we got a lot to cover, and I think I had a little too much of that for the Grand Blue Leon stream. So allow me to truncate just ever so slightly. Transformation for all these guys are pretty simple, nothing particularly groundbreaking, but I do find them oddly satisfying to do. Let me tell you, after having to do some pretty hefty transformations for metal card bots and some precarious model kit combinations, something this simple is a bit of a relief. Plus again, they're gonna combine later. They gotta pull double duty, lads. Go easy on them. Or not. So here are the 6 lads, and again, I'm gonna go through them pretty quickly because we have a lot to cover, and I know what you're here for. But it must be said, I think these 6 bosom buddies are all kind of charming. So comparing them to the animation model, they all seem a little bit thicker compared to the anime. That might put a few people off. In fact, I was delaying bringing up the third-party figures for a bit, but screw it. Iron Factory have their own take on a legend scale Liokaiser, which, given the height, is basically chug. And their takes on the 6 are noticeably thinner. So if you want something more anime proportioned, there's that. But as for the combined form, we'll get back to that. However, something these guys have over the Iron Factory bots are the details and colors. They just pop out a lot more to me, with a lot more going on, with good use of greebling. Also, these guys feel a lot more like they have their own individual bodies, whereas the Iron Factory's guys feel a little bit cut and paste to my eyes. Helping that is all the head sculpts just look fantastic. Lots of great paintwork and very distinctive helmets add a lot of personality to these guys. I particularly love Hellbat's weird vampire soundwave head and Killbison's horns and 1980 visor. While I think the vehicles are only okay, the robot modes are pretty solid, except for certain kibble placements. Now, some kibble I do think is placed fairly smartly on the new figures, to be fair, and some of these can help with silhouettes like Drillhorn and Killbison's armor bits. Leozak, meanwhile, has these ugly tabs on the side of his feet. These tabs are used for the shoulder joints of Liokaiser, so fair enough, but also they don't look particularly good. I wish they kind of folded up a little bit just to make it look a little bit cleaner. Guess it could be worse with Hasbro lately, though. Something they definitely get right, though, is the feel. All of these guys feel great to pose about and mess with. They all are very, very chunky and with high quality plastic, which you'd expect given the price. Nothing feels like it'll break or come apart. Only flaw really is this little bit of sprue on Killbison. Of course, it's on him. Also, something you may have noticed with all these guys are these big chest plates. These guys aren't called the breast force for nothing. Inside these titanium titties are these little animal companions that even forms a gun. A nice little bonus kept from the original toy.
These guys have
Very peculiarly placed handles.
Now, normally this would be where I cover the articulation with stream footage, but again, lots of bots for this, so I'll give my more general thoughts. And honestly, for the most part, they're all really good. Each bot has the type of articulation you'd expect from modern chug figures. Lots of rotation, each one having a waist swivel, heads of varying articulation, ankles, and each bot has their own wrist swivel on a ball joint, and angled so that it's like a sword-wielding wrist. And a lot of them even have some extra joints for the combination, like chest crunches and sassy hip motions. The only major point of contention are again with Kill Bison and sadly Drillhorn. I expect this disappointment from Kill Bison, but not from you, Drillhorn. So while not every bot is created equally, there is still a lot of effort towards getting these guys as posable as they can be. Something I do appreciate a lot, given that with 86 Devastator, I felt like the full range of articulation wasn't quite taken advantage of for the individual bots. So we have okay vehicles, pretty good robots, but what about the combined mode? Let's find out. I think we've covered just about everything. Let's find out through this awesome staple full color manual. More of this, please, and less of the toilet paper we got from Legacy Victory Saber. Hasbro and Takara remember what staples are.
Okay, so for Skyhawk here, we gotta remove the little breast force feller. But now then, we're gonna line up the arms like this, spin the head around. Or is it actually? Oh, okay, that requires a little bit of force. Oh, you can just seesaw it out. You just gotta really get it out like first. Okay. All right, so then we take the legs and we're gonna scrunch them up like so. That's nice. That's nice. Then we pull these up. We don't pull down the feet. Okay. And there we go. Arm the first. All right. Looks like for Elbat, it's going to be a very similar deal. So vasectomy might be better if it was better if I pulled up, if I went more at the side so that it would fit a little bit more. Rotate it downward more. And for Leozak, we are going to rotate into fists. That looks really silly to me. Bring down the backpack. Fold in this part, and looks like we just do a big old switcheroo. Give him a giant chibi head. That looks really funny. And then we connect this up here. And then we connect, fold up the knees, I think. And then, we do a big rotation here and just kind of finagle these in. No, not too bad. Not too bad. Then there's something we gotta fold in here. Yeah. We use the wings to fold in at the top. Clever, clever. We rotate the fists back down. Nope, bring in that a lot more. There we go. I'm gonna pull these down. Ow! Oh, cut my finger on some plastic. Not fun. And yep, we're gonna get this guy all scrunched up and kind of connect it back down like so, I believe. Yes. Hold this entire section down and rotate up the leg. Pull it in. And then we click it back into place like that. Before we folded in the feet, actually, we were meant to kind of push this in, these little parts into the side of the leg. Yeah, I just had to get it in a little bit carefully. Now that got his foot, and it says here we are going to put his little goofy tank head there. Oh, really? that's what we're doing. We're just rotating it around. Interesting. But yeah, there we go. That is a pretty nice foot. Also, I almost forgot something actually. We are actually meant to take the breast force components and actually put them back in. So for Jarga, it wants us to remove his little missile pod things, rotate his head, bring up his little race car thing, click his feet in, flip up his toes, flip down his fists, we rotate on this side, flip it up, then we take the pants, rotate these up a bit, and then I think we can straighten those out. Ooh. Powerful feeling ratchets up. I think we just slide it in. Clicking these into the missile pods. And someone actually pointed out something kind of clever about the way these are designed is these kind of lock in and help to secure the overall robot, which that is nice. For the arms, we're gonna bring these out and rotate them. And then we'll just put that aside for now. Let us combine. So let's get our two legs in. And then these, just gonna slide in like so. Okay, connected, and that feels rather nice. Slide the torso into like so, and that will just you connect the feet there. Come on, there we go. And then there are these two little tabs. You just insert the arms into at the side, and there we go. Liokaiser's actual arms. They're just gonna tab on there. They're pretty easy to get on and off again, actually. So that is nice. There you go. So the remaining breast force pieces are just kind of plugged into the back, which just gonna shove it in there. Which I'm glad they at least have a place to go.
Combination sequence was fantastic. Again, if there's anything Hashtag got right with this guy, it's the feel and playability. The transformation was smooth as butter, easy to understand, and there never was that one really annoying step you sometimes get. Also, I appreciate all the effort to lock stuff into place, including a very clever usage of the missile pods from Jaruga. And the final result looks absolutely incredible. I think out of the 3 modernized versions of Liokaiser, we're not counting the Combiner Wars trash. While the Iron Factory one is a lot more streamlined, I think it feels a bit weirdly naked at the same time. Still good, but the more bulked out Haslab version feels oddly fitting for this guy, and a lot more menacing. But whichever you prefer is going to be down to personal opinion for stylization. And the TFC one, that is certainly a third-party combiner from the mid-2010s. Which, if you know, you know, and you might be having some PTSD already.
Why is this not working?
Gotta say, I also really love the color layout of this guy, with each bot having their own color scheme. It almost feels like a Megazord. An evil Megazord, I'll grant you, but still, I do like how there's no visually boring aspect about him. Even though a large amount of gray on him keeps him grounded compared to the more bombastic colors. Now, one thing I have heard people complain about is the back, which a lot of people compare to Jaruga sitting down holding everything, and that's also what makes it hilarious. I'll allow funky backpacks as long as there's a bit of goofy charm to them, and they don't get in the way of articulation. And it's kind of funny as an homage to the original toy, so it gets a pass from me.
So real quick, I'll just talk about the accessories. You do get this stand, and you just want to insert it into there. Not these holes, this hole here. Yeah, that supports his weight pretty well, although, man, it looks a little bit weird to see him fly. So another thing you get is this was a Kickstarter reward. You get these electric nunchaku, or magnetized nunchaku. I don't remember how it was. And these are on little plastic chains. Very cool accessory. They're modular. You just clip them on like this. And these spears can also be individual weapons, you know, so you can either plug it in like that or just kind of shove that into the hole. Oh, and that's on nice and tight. And then you just clip that on. And once you do have it, clipped in, yeah, that is. Oops, come on, buddy. Work with me here. That is a pretty cool weapon, and you can just stretch it out, and yeah, it looks all nice. You do get a lot more, actually. You do get a lot more of the chains and little stars, and thankfully you can store them under the base here. In fact, the base also comes with these two connectors to keep this thing locked in nice and tight. So very nice. I love the fact they use the base for something useful. That's something I loved on Deathsaurus, and I'm glad that's here too.
Nana, I think that's all the accessories, right? Nope. I've been teasing him this whole review, but let's whip out Death Cobra. To make a long story short, Death Cobra was in the original anime, died quickly, and never got a toy, until the campaign offered him as a tier reward, so I'll quickly go over. Helicopter mode, kinda sucks, looks incomplete. Robot mode, from the front he's kinda neat, but that backpack, it's like a mangled corpse back there. Shoulder cannon mode, that just looks weirdly wrong, but I give credit for finding a good use. Arm mode, actually he kinda works as an arm. This gets a pass. So yeah, decent bonus, but as a standalone figure, nah, this would not fly. I mean, it can't fly in general, it's just a plastic action figure, but as Cobra, that thing is marvelous. So yeah, out of all the accessories, Death Cobra is probably my favorite just because it's nice to see a character finally get a toy, even if it's not the best. And him being here does help to justify the price. A bit more, kinda, sorta, maybe? Let's go over articulation.
Right, so articulation, he actually is pretty well articulated. You got a head that can look up pretty far, look down okay, and the ears are actually articulated. Arms go up really far, or you know, a little bit of smell my pits action. You can get some T-pose in. The arms do rotate all the way around, although you gotta be careful of the little, of both the breast and also this little chest plate. So there is rotation at the shoulder. There, you got a little bit more than 90 at the elbow. You can sort of sway the wrist down if you want, and it swivels. And also, if you can see that, there is articulated finger. There's 3 hinges on the index finger and 2 hinges. Is that 3 hinges on the? Yes, that is a little bit extra hinges. Very nicely articulated hands. All right, there is a waist swivel. There were some people that were confused that there's no waist swivel. There is. You just have to get the skirt up. It's not a fantastic waist swivel. Oh wait, no. You can go more. You can go more. More. So that is nice. That is really nice. Really nice spread. And then at the back, legs go up that far. Thigh rotation, very nice. Thigh rotation, you do have a little bit of flex there if you want to use that. Don't know why you would, but it's there. Is there ankle pivot? Yes, there is. Very nice ankle pivot. Toes can go up and down, and yeah, that's it. Pretty solid for a combiner, especially.
Articulation is overall really damn good, and while not the most posable Haslab figure, that honor would probably go to Deathsaurus or Mega Prime. Still a really nice combiner with some bits you don't always get from combiners, and it feels really solid and stable. Which, considering this guy's last official figure was a Combiner Wars set, I think is quite the upgrade. Shall we do some real quick size comparisons?
For a more normal scale combiner, here he is next to Age of the Prime's Superion. Then for another 6-bot combiner, here he is next to Studio Series 86 Devastator. You stand up now, sir. You stand up then. There, we'll say, you know, Studio Series 86 Devastator, very, very mostly green. This guy's a lot more colorful, a lot more painted. Bringing some victory stuff. Here he is next to Haslab Deathsaurus, which, yeah, that looks awesome. Good old victory saber there. Oh, and yeah, these two together makes this quite the set.
So that was Haslab Liokaiser. A controversial set at the beginning of the campaign, but it seems as though people have really come around to him. And that actually makes me really happy. Let's face it, we as Transformers fans tend to get rather hyperbolic, especially with Combiner. So saner heads prevailing in the end does bring a smile to my face. Will this be the last Haslab campaign? I'm not sure. I'm sure they have other Japanese parts of the franchise they can milk. But if this is the last of the traditional Transformers Haslab campaigns, it'd be a good one to go out on. Now then, is it worth the price? Well, when it was out, the only competition is TFC's Horribly Aged set and the Iron Factory set, and both of which were slightly more expensive. And this, of course, has higher quality plastic, more accessories, and Death Cobra. But of course, there is one little problem. This guy is unlikely to get reprinted, so his price on the secondhand market is your only choice. So I wish your kidneys well on their future endeavors. So sadly, I do think if you missed your chance, you're probably going to have to go for the Iron Factory set, which to be fair, I have heard great things about, but it's just a shame these Haslabs are so locked off. But who knows, maybe they'll return as made-to-order things. Maybe they'll find a way to re-release this guy's limited retail. And maybe we'll get that Season 4 of Transformers Animated. A boy can dream. But what about you? How did you feel about this set? And what would you want for the next Haslab campaign? Or do you think Haslab should be dead and buried? Let me know in the comments and please subscribe.